Going over to the business blunder of the day of General Motors truck transmissions continuing to have more and more issues, which wouldn't happen if you bought a truck with a stick shift, also known as manual transmission. I'm only partially kidding. There's only one truck in North America you can get with a stick shift, Toyota Tacoma, which kind of cool, you can get them in green, but it's not full-size trucks. They can't actually do a lot of hauling, but nevertheless, this is credited to Brian Hurd at thedrive.com. He says, quote, left at the lurch, GM HD truck owners demand answers as transmission issues mount. GM finally has a fix for its half-ton transmission issues, but heavy-duty truck owners are still waiting for the news, which I was about to make a joke. You should have bought a Ford, but Ford has had well over 100 recalls this year thus far. I mean, if you want towing, again, anecdotally, a lot of my friends who do that, they love the Ram trucks, which are slightly more, well, I was going to say anything's more reliable than GM, but nevertheless, it's an instance where, yeah, the Ram trucks are pretty good. And to give them credit, they're the last major truck manufacturer to make a full-size truck in a stick shift, but unfortunately, they also acquiesced to a Solus automatic transmission. But I partially digress. Again, credited to Mr. Hurd over at thedrive.com. He says, quote, been a tough couple of years for automotive quality control between Ford industry-leading torrent of recalls and Toyota's twin-turbo V6 snafu. It seems everyone emerged from the pandemic with a plan to sacrifice durability in the name of manufacturing efficiencies. Over at General Motors, two icons of reliability. They just said that in a sentence with General Motors. But again, they do make a good V8 usually. But again, this sentence continues to the V8, but I couldn't make that without laughing. I'll try it again. So again, over at General Motors, two icons of steadfast reliability, the small block V8 and the Allison transmission, which, yeah, Allison makes good stuff. Fun fact, headquartered in Indiana. And becoming hopefully temporary black eyes for the company, whose trucks and SUVs are trusted by consumers who need more than simple commuter appliance. One of these consumers is Robert Shafto, who purchased a 2023 GMC Sierra 3500, which again, same thing as the Chevy Silverado, with slightly different colors and badges glued to it. Well, I don't want to sound too short. They probably use great 3M adhesive, but they say his truck only got 30,000 miles on it from the dealership earlier this year. When he picked it up, it was accompanied by documents showing that the 10-speed automatic transmission's valve body had already been replaced under warranty. He did not learn until much later that the previous owner had traded it in after the valve body sidelined it. The dealer sat on it until the replacement part arrived, repaired it, and listed it for sale. But no big deal, the worst part is already over, right? For a brief scan, the net, you'd assume that to be true. GM recalled the 10-speed automatic in virtually everything it sold, from the truck and SUV line down to the Camaro and Cadillac CT4, CT5, which, imagine buying a sports car with a 10-speed automatic. I know it's faster in a straight line, but I mean, the Cadillac CT4 and CT5V Blackwing series are meant for the track. And to the credit, about 50% of consumers do choose a stick shift when they're buying those vehicles. Fun ADHD facts of the day. I'm great for trivia night. Well, except for sports balls. I don't know what they do. Now he says, quote, but if you read the fine print, the fix only applied to trucks from 2020 to 2022 model years. It was actually just a software update to prevent the affected cars and trucks from experiencing a full rear wheel lockup should the actual culprit, 10-speed automatic valve body assembly, begin to fail prematurely, which just put a software update. It'll make, help I think GM was just thinking, all right, make the software update, just make it last just long enough for it to be out of warranty. Then we can charge them more money. Jeez Louise. They say, while the recall cuts off, well, we get another ginormous truck on the screen there with that grill that is probably larger than the side of a school bus or my car, for that matter. Now, they say that, quote, while the recall cuts off in 2022, it seems that to be a practical matter rather than a reliable milestone. If you look at the NHTSA's complaint database from 2023 to 2024 trucks, you'll see a bulk of the reported consumer issues stem from the rear axle. But unlike older trucks, far more of them remain under warranty, and since they shipped with the software update that could prevent the rear axle from locking up at speed, there's little pressure for GM to address the safety concern. Little did the owner know he'd be in the previous owner's position just months after, just with a slightly different dealership offering the truck in on trade. In early June, he experienced a relatively low transmission hiccup. While it wasn't a high-speed lockup, the issue the transmission control module were reprogrammed to prevent, it was one of the early documented signs of the valve body failure. Truck's second in under 35,000 miles. Jeez. Just buy Toyota or Honda. They have their issues, but it's never this bad. As of today, there's no estimated data for the required part, wrote Shafro on August 12th in an email to media outlets, his dealership. And GM CEO Mary Barra, quote, yet despite their occurrence, GM and the dealership have opted to replace the valve body instead of addressing the core root cause, unquote. If you're following GM's 10-speed recall saga, you might be aware that the manufacturer just released a third version of the valve body design, which should help ease current blockage. But there's a catch. It fits only GM's half-ton gasoline-powered trucks. GM's 2500 and 3500 series of trucks, which were part of the initial recall population, are still reliant on the Band-Aid, and there's no revised valve body part available. Jeez. But even if GM was in the position to offer an upgraded part, Shapiro is losing faith in GM's quality control. They allegedly have a quality control department, I'm told. Maybe. He says, I don't believe that this is the first redesign they accomplished, so I don't have much faith that it'll fix the issue, unquote. To make matters worse, he is staring down a major move while his truck sits at the dealership waiting for a resolution that doesn't seem imminent. Yeah. He says, quote, I'm an active duty member of the United States Air Force preparing for a permanent change of station. Move next month to attend the officer training school in October. I purchased a trailer for my relocation, but I'm now stranded 4 hours away because I have no vehicle to retrieve it, unquote. They say that GM's $44 per day rental reimbursement cap does not come close to covering a vehicle capable of towing a trailer, effectively leaving me without transportation, he said. Their capped rental reimbursement appears to be designed to deter customers from seeking the support they deserve under the warranty, placing the financial burden back on the consumers. Yeah. Now they also mentioned the Lemon Law, which varies very much on a state-by-state basis. They continue the article saying GM could argue that supply chain shortage is an issue beyond the company's immediate control, but struggling to wrangle suppliers probably isn't the sort of disaster Virginia lawmakers have in mind when they pass this particular piece of legislation. And the legislation for them says the motor vehicle out of service due to repair for a cumulative of total of 30 calendar days, unless such repairs could not be performed because the conditions beyond control of the manufacturer. Its agents should authorize dealers, including war, invasion, strike, fire, flood, or natural disasters. So this would qualify under Lemon Law. He says, quote, I need a truck. It doesn't have to be my truck. I've been very patient and professional throughout the process, but it's clear that GM is failing to take responsibility for widespread and well-documented design flaw. Instead of issuing a recall or developing permanent resolution, the company continues to rely on temporary Band-Aid repairs that do not last. Which, yeah, that recall would always so cost them a lot of money. And I was about to say brand reputation. It's just GM. I mean, I'm sure my grandpa's truck in the 90s and 80s were much more reliable. And it stinks, especially because these bigger trucks, the 2500 and 3500 series, those are the ones that a lot of people use that are contractors, business owners. They rely on that vehicle to make a living. And yeah, to have even more issues. And again, GM makes a lot of products, not very reliable or profitable in many cases. Their EVs lose money still. I mean, they make a lot of profit from large SUVs and trucks. That is what they are best at. Well, he's still not great at it, but the reason why these business blunders are so especially bad for GM is because this is the bread and butter. This is where they make their profit. In theory, they lose a lot of money too. But of all the vehicles they make, the truck's the most important. And to have yet more recalls and more mistakes for this transmission years later without a workaround for the heavy-duty trucks that, again, people rely on to make a living, I say, General Motors, you're, once again, and certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.